In the center of Manhattan, a single acre of dirt is worth $14 million. In San Francisco, a burnt-out shell of a house recently sold for $1 million over asking price. The American narrative tells us that land is the ultimate asset. We are told they aren't making any more of it. But that is a lie, because right here, just a 2-hour flight from the most expensive real estate on earth, you can buy an acre of the United States for less than the price of a high-end coffee machine. There is a massive vertical scar running down the center of the North American continent. It stretches from the Canadian border in North Dakota all the way down to the Texas Panhandle. In this zone, the rules of real estate don't just bend, they break. Banks are terrified to lend here. Insurance companies are quietly fleeing, and major developers view this region not as an opportunity, but as a financial black hole. While the rest of the country screams about a housing shortage, millions of acres here sit empty, unwanted, and effectively worthless. This isn't just because it's boring or flat. The reason 50% of American land has zero value is a complex mix of geologic destiny, a hidden insurance crisis, and an infrastructure collapse that no one is talking about. Today, we are going to find out why you can't and shouldn't live here. To understand why this land is financially toxic, you first have to understand the invisible wall that splits America in two. It's called the 100th meridian. To the east of this line, the United States is humid and green. It receives over 20 inches of rain a year, the magic number required to grow crops without irrigation. This is where you find the Corn Belt, the old cotton fields, and the massive population centers. But to the west of this line, the climate flips. The Rocky Mountains block the moisture coming from the Pacific, creating a massive rain shadow. The land here isn't quite a desert, but it's certainly not farmable in the traditional sense. It is a semi-arid steppe. In the 1800s, the US government tried to trick people into moving here with the Homestead Act. They used the slogan, "Rain follows the plow," a scientifically false claim that if you farmed the land, the moisture would magically appear. It was a lie. When the dry cycle returned in the 1,930 seconds, the soil turned to dust. The Dust Bowl wasn't just a weather event, it was a real estate correction of biblical proportions. Today, the only reason anything grows here is because we are pumping ancient water out of the Ogallala Aquifer underground. But that bank account is running empty. In 2024 alone, aquifer levels in parts of western Kansas dropped by over 1.5 feet. This is fossil water once it's gone. It's gone for 6,000 years. So from a real estate perspective, this land has a negative carry. If you buy it, it produces nothing on its own. You cannot grow a garden, you cannot drill a shallow well, and you cannot graze cattle without hundreds of acres per cow. The land itself fights against value, but geography is only the first problem. The second problem, and the one that actually destroys property value, is the infrastructure void. When you buy a house in a suburb, you aren't just paying for the wood and bricks. You are paying for the last mile connection. You are paying for the fact that someone else, decades ago, paid millions of dollars to run a pipe to your toilet and a wire to your light switch. In the dead zone of America, this grid simply stops. Let's say you buy 10 acres in rural Nevada or western Kansas for $5,000. It seems like a steal. You own a piece of America, but now you want to build a house. First, electricity. The nearest pole is 2 miles away. According to 2025 industry data, the power company will charge you roughly $40,000 to $80,000 per mile to run an overhead line. If you have to go underground, that's over $100,000 per mile. That's $160,000 just to turn the lights on. Next, water. There is no city water. You need a well. But remember, we are west of the 100th meridian. The water table is deep. Drilling a 600-foot well through bedrock can cost another $30,000 to $50,000, and there is no guarantee you'll hit good water. Then, sewage. The soil is too rocky or too sandy for a standard septic system. You need an engineered system. Suddenly, your $5,000 plot of land has cost you nearly $250,000 before you have even poured the foundation of the house. And here is the financial kicker that ruins you. Once you build that house, it is immediately worth less than what you paid to build it. This is called functional obsolescence. Because there are no jobs nearby, no schools, and no hospitals, there is no pool of buyers. You have buried $250,000 in the middle of nowhere, and you will never get it back. This is why developers don't build here. The math creates a guaranteed bankruptcy. If the geography doesn't bankrupt you, the weather will. We are now entering the era of the insurance death spiral. You might have heard about insurance companies leaving Florida or California because of hurricanes and wildfires. But the crisis in the middle of America is arguably worse. It's just quieter. This region is the global epicenter for what meteorologists call severe convective storms. We aren't just talking about tornadoes. We are talking about hail the size of baseballs that shreds roofs and siding every 3 years like clockwork. In 2023, these storms caused over $50 billion in insured losses. That is more damage than most hurricanes cause. For decades, insurance companies subsidized these losses with profits from other states, but with modern climate modeling, they have stopped. In Nebraska, the average homeowner now pays 1.8 times the national average for insurance. In parts of Oklahoma, premiums have tripled in 5 years. But it gets worse. Many insurers are simply refusing to write new policies on rural homes that are more than 5 miles from a fire station. Here is why this kills land value. You cannot get a mortgage without insurance. If the land is uninsurable, it is unfinanceable. That means the only people who can buy your land are cash buyers. When you eliminate 90% of potential buyers, the people who need mortgages, the value of the asset collapses. This is why you see entire towns in the Midwest crumbling. It's not that people won't live there, it's that the financial system has walled them off. Now you might be looking at a map and thinking, but someone owns this land. There are farms everywhere. You are right, but those aren't people. They are corporations. In 1950, a family could make a living on 160 acres. Today, to be profitable in this arid region, you need 2,000 acres and million-dollar machinery. This has led to a mass consolidation known as the hollowed-out middle. Small towns are dying because the people have been replaced by automation. A single corporation can farm 10,000 acres with a crew of 3 people. Those 3 people don't need a local grocery store, a local school, or a local movie theater. So the town infrastructure collapses. The land in the center of America is slowly being transferred from the hands of citizens to the balance sheets of billionaires. Bill Gates now owns approximately 275,000 acres of farmland, with massive holdings in Nebraska's Holt County. These investors treat the land like gold bars in a vault. They buy it to hold it. They don't want to develop it. They don't want to build subdivisions. They want to strip mine the soil for profit and collect government subsidies. This artificially inflates the price of productive farmland while destroying the value of residential land. You can't buy 5 acres to build a home because the neighboring mega farm doesn't want you there complaining about the dust, the chemicals, and the smell. You are zoned out of existence. So let's address the elephant in the room. You go online right now and you see listings. 40 acres in West Texas for $15,000. 10 acres in Arizona for $3,000. If you take nothing else from this video, remember this. This is a trap. Let's look at Loving County, Texas. It is the least populated county in the mainland United States. In 2025, you can find land here for next to nothing. Why? Because in 1855, an explorer named John Pope tried to drill for water here. He failed. 170 years later, there is still no water. These listings are often sold by land flippers. They buy a massive, useless section of desert for pennies, subdivide it into squares on a PDF map, and sell it to dreamers on the internet. These subdivisions are ghost grids. There are no maintained roads. If you call an ambulance, they won't come because the road on Google Maps is just a dirt track that washes out in the rain. Even worse, many of these parcels come with mineral rights severed. That means you own the surface, but an oil company owns the dirt underneath. Legally, they can come onto your property, set up a drilling rig in your front yard, and there is nothing you can do about it. Thousands of Americans buy this land every year hoping to go off-grid. Within 2 years, most of them abandon it. They realize that living without infrastructure isn't freedom. It's a full-time job that costs a fortune. The land goes back on the market, waiting for the next victim. So, is this land truly worthless? Financially, for the average home buyer, yes. It is a liability masquerading as an asset, but the future of the American center isn't housing, it's energy. The same wind that stripped the soil in the 1,930 seconds is now spinning turbines. The same sun that bakes the desert is now powering solar farms. The dead zone is becoming the power plant of America. But power plants don't need neighbors. They don't need schools. And they don't need you. The trend is irreversible. America is effectively becoming a hollow nation. Dense, expensive, and crowded on the edges. And empty, wild, and corporate-owned in the center. So the next time you see a listing for cheap land in the middle of nowhere, ask yourself, why is it cheap? The answer usually isn't a bargain. It's a warning. If you want to know why we are abandoning trillions in real estate 2025, click this video right here. Thanks for watching.